not forget to record this. Cool.
Okay.
So yeah, I sent you my questions, but so we're just gonna do a little conversation.
Okay. I didn't even read them.
Okay, so this will be fun.
I was like, I'll just answer it live with mistakes and all.
That's how I want it to be. I want it to be informal and fun and
excellent.
Just fun. So are you on tour right now?
Not right now. I'm in the house, but I'm literally about to step out to go to Colorado, and I've got 2 gigs in Colorado Springs and Denver, and then we've got Wyoming, a place in. I know I'm flying out of Redmond. I can't think of the city right now, but we're in the. You know what? I should check it. I should have this thing ready to go, shouldn't I?
Should know.
So we're going to be in what day is the day? 15th. 15. Cheyenne, Wyoming. That's going to be on Saturday.
Wow, you must be you go all over the world then. How many shows do you do with the Fab Four?
That's usually about 100 a year, between 90 and 100. But you do 2 a weekend. It takes you a day either side to get there, so it takes 4 days on average a week. So we're just constantly on tour with the Fab Four. We just did a 2-week, 3-week tour straight down in the southeast. But usually we're just constantly on. Someone says, "When's the tour over?" I'm like, "When I die." I think that's or I get too old.
It's just never ending tour.
Yep, never.
But I suppose that's why you wanted to be a George lookalike, right? You just wanted to always play the Beatles, right?
I was always a George lookalike, even when I didn't want to be a George lookalike, And I think as I'm getting older, I'm getting less like him now that I've got grey hair. And, I'm approaching his age. But when I put the wig on and stuff, it still looks good. I have to change everything because I've got blue eyes. So I put brown contact lenses in.
Oh.
I darken my eyebrows. And I start acting a little bit more like him. And then when I'm off stage, people don't even recognize me. It's great. I can just go to the pub and have a drink and not be hassled.
That is a good thing.
And I'm only messing. You can come and say hello to me. I don't consider it a hassle.
Right. Not like mob. People are like, "Oh my gosh, that's actually George Harrison back from the dead."
That's actually George Harrison. They don't know. They're like, he's still alive and he got 20 years younger. It's crazy.
All right. So you didn't always want to be a George lookalike, or how did you get into that as a career?
Well, when I was about 16 or 15 years of age, my auntie used to say all the time, "Oh, Gav looks like a young George Harrison." And I didn't, I wasn't into the Beatles at the time. I was just a kid, and it was the 80s. So, I was into Go West. I'm ashamed now, but I was into all these Huey Lewis and the News and Go West and all this, stuff.
I like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Hey, it's good. Now I can admit that I'm into it. Yes, I'm still into it now. And I wasn't into the Beatles. That was my mum's generation and above. And so, anyway, my auntie was saying all the time, "You look a bit like, Gav looks like George." So I went into school one time, and the girl that I fancied had a pencil case and it had the Beatles on it. And I was like, and she was like, "Oh, I always like George." I'm like, I get told to look like George, and I never got to date her. She never saw the resemblance, but years later, I kind of started to look a bit more like him. And then it became stupid. I'd do gigs with my original band, and then we get a review, and a review would say, "Oh, these guys are a quartet from Liverpool, but you'd swear the lead guitarist was a direct descendant of George Harrison." So it just kept popping up all the time. And I was like, "Oh, all right." And then there was a film interview audition. They were looking for John Lennon in Liverpool, and I went down there because my mum and my auntie were like, "Go on, you go for it. You've got no acting experience or musical experience, but you might get the part, And I went down there, and they liked it actually. They came over to me and they said they'd already taken a George. They'd already casted a George, but they'd see me first. I might have been in with a shot, and that's how it started. I was like, "Oh." And then I met 2 guys at that particular audition who played John and Paul, and they said, "Why don't you learn to play George?" And they gave me that white Beatle Bible that all the musicians know about. And they said, "Just learn these tunes." And I did. And the rest is history. Now I'm talking to you, Melissa, on a Zoom with me dogs in the background,
That's it. Full life circle, life complete now.
That's it. That's how it started. Now I can die happy.
Yeah, right. Being on a podcast. So great. That's funny. Well, yeah, so the Beatles weren't like a huge influence for you when you were growing up then, huh?
Not really. When I was about 17 or 18, once they kind of like, my auntie had said that I look like him, and then my
Mhm.
stepdad had all these vinyl albums, and he just said, oh, the Beatles are great, and I listened to the White Album, and I just was like blown away. And then from then on, I just kind of like appreciated them more and more. You see, it was difficult coming from Liverpool. If you're an original band, the bar is the Beatles. It's like every other place has good bands, and the bar might be. And I'm not saying any other bands are worse than the Beatles, but they are. You know.
You can
So
say that.
yeah, if you come from Batesville, Arkansas, who's the level? I don't even know anyone from Batesville, Arkansas, and then you've got like bigger bands, Jimi Hendrix and stuff from like Nirvana from Seattle, and you go, ooh, and you still get the Beatles, and you go Nirvana and everyone else, and you go. So if you're a struggling musician, you come from the land of the Beatles, you just can't compete. So I didn't like them at the beginning. I was like, why did he set the bar so high? And now I appreciate it because I do it for a living, and I'm like, the bar is set pretty high, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah, and I would say like the Fab Four has set like the bar for all, tribute bands to the Beatles. So you
Yeah.
like set that bar. You're the top bar.
The Beatles set it, and then after that, I think the next big band for me in England, it was the bootleg Beatles, and then when I came to America, it was 1964, the Tributes,
Mhm.
and then and they were in one or two generations above me. So I was younger. I was the young lad in town, and when I joined the Fab Four, and now there's probably going to be another Beatle band that are going to be even better than the Fab Four and have way more access to the technology and the music and be able to do the harmonies even better, maybe.
Ooh.
But right now, I think we're one of the best. Not, but my head's going to be too big. I won't be able to get out the door. But I think we are because I haven't seen anyone else that puts the effort in that we do. So, and
Yeah,
you've got a 25% Scouser in the band too, and none of the others do. So I don't know.
exactly. Yeah, that says something. No, I'd say you guys are the toppermost of the poppermost.
How much do
of
I owe you,
the-
Melissa, for the plug? Thank you.
Oh, that's funny. No, I mean we love the Fab Four. You just came, and then you're gonna be coming in next May as well.
Yep.
Um,
Twice in
so
a row, which is very unusual. I don't know what's happening with Gary. He's like, oh, we're gonna have a headliner twice in a row.
well, we want like the best Beatles tribute band at the like biggest Beatles festival in the world. So
excellent. Well, we now have struck a deal.
we have right here. Well, I wanted to know also how you even got to know about, well, actually, I wanted to know how you got into the Fab Four first, but then also how you got into Abbey Road. And was that through being in the Fab Four?
No, it was the other way around.
Okay.
When I first arrived in America, I'll go back a little bit. I was in a band called the Blue Meanies. They were the band that I met when I was in Liverpool, and then they didn't turn up for a gig, and I turned up on my own. And so a guy said to me, "Oh, why don't you get up and play a few songs on your own?" And I wasn't really that well versed with George, but I knew about 6 songs at that point. And I said, "Oh, my acoustic guitar's missing strings." And he said, he gave it to a guy, went, right, put strings on that, tune it up 440. He said, "What's your excuse now?" I went, "I haven't got an excuse." So I had to go on and play this gig, but I did tell everyone, I know 6 songs, so I'm just going to do the 6 songs. I know you're expecting an hour worth of music, but and I did it. And the next band were a band from Chicago called British Export, and they were looking for a George to play in South Korea. So they said, right, this guy, let's ask him. And at that time, me and the Blue Meanies were falling out because they weren't turning up for gigs and stuff like that, So I was looking for something different. And so Jim Martin and Paul Lynch at the time was a guy called Frank Canino, was the John. And they were looking for a George to come. And I played like 5 weeks with them over in South Korea. And then they said, why don't you come over to America? And I said, yeah, right then. So I just came over just to see what it was like, And I traveled around a bit. And then the next thing they said, oh, we got this festival called Abbey Road on the River. And did it start in 2001? 2002?
02 in Cleveland, yeah.
So it started in 02, but I came over in 03. And as I was saying, I was just traveling around and having a look and stuff. And then he said, oh, we've got this gig. So we went over there and played, and then I was like, oh, this is massive. Like, and I thought every city had a big, massive festival like that. There's only one. It's Abbey Road on the River, and I actually spoke to Gary, and I think it was the first time, obviously the first time in the festival, but the first time for me too. I said, George is underrepresented a lot with because I can see there's John Solo, Tim Piper, and then you got you got the other guy who plays Paul, what's his name? He's gonna kill me if I forget his name. So Clark Gilmore, his name's Gilmore. I've forgotten his first name. He's gonna kill me if he listens to this. I'll have to look on Facebook quickly. Anyway, Gilmore and Piper with the John and Pauls. And anyway, they had their own stuff, and there was no one singing any George stuff. And I was like, oh. So I just made a deal with Gary early on. I said, can I just play an hour on a small stage of George Harrison stuff? And he said, yeah, what's the name? And I was like, well, George Harry's son, his dad's called Harry. George is Harry's son. So it was just George Harry's son, like that. And then, and that's what it started. And then I took that back to Liverpool too, because they were like, oh, you do an hour. At least an hour. Now I knew more than 6 songs at that point. You know a few George songs when you come over, so that was it. So I actually started with Abbey Road and the River before I joined the Fab Four. I didn't join the Fab Four till 2005 or something, 2006 maybe. It was years later. I'd already been playing every year, and in fact, that's why Ardy cracked the joke this year. He said we're going to rename Abbey Road on the River Gabby Road on the River. For me, and I told him my name's not Gabby. So the joke didn't land at all whatsoever. But my relationship with Abbey Road and the River has been going since 2002. So my relationship with the Fab Four is 4 years less.
Yeah. Unknown. Oh gosh.
Oh, what's happening? Is your mum ringing you?
No, I'm getting some spam.
Spam.
I get all these spam calls all the time.
Have you got a Cleveland number?
Me? No, I have a Wisconsin number.
Wisconsin, yeah. I get spam mail from Cleveland every morning because I have a Cleveland number in California, so they ring at like 6 a.m. If anyone's listening out there that does the spam, piss off. I don't want you ringing me at bloody 6 o'clock in the morning. Do you know what I mean?
Do a PSA against all spam calls right here.
In any of the states, stop with the spam. No one needs it except spam a lot.
That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. Well, I wanted also to ask about your George Harry's son show and what you're bringing. But first, I wanted to know about how Abbey Road has kind of influenced your life. I know that you met your wife at one of the Abbey Roads, and I just wanted to know the story behind that, or like when you met and how did that entail?
Oh, she wasn't coming to see George neither. I was with British Exports, and she was coming to see Tim Piper. She's a big John Lennon fan. There's a big, it's not in the office down here, but there's a big massive painting of John Lennon upstairs.
Yeah.
So she was coming to see Tim Piper with her sister, and my wife's quite quiet, but her sister's loud. And so when I got off stage, they all thought I had a sister came and said hello to me first, and then she was like, "Oh, I think this guy might really be British," And they kept testing me. Oh, what do you say for that? What do you say for hood? And I was like, bonnet, and answering all the questions for different things. And then my wife's like deaf in one ear too, so she was looking at my mouth the whole time. And like, how weird it is when someone's looking at your mouth and you're trying to talk, and then you start getting paranoid. Like, what have I got in my mouth?
Something in your teeth.
Yeah, I thought I had asparagus or some green in there or something. And so she kept looking at me, and I was just like trying to see if anything was in my teeth, and that's how I met her really. Because it piqued my interest, that she was like so intensely looking at my face.
That piqued your interest.
Yeah, because most people go, "How are you doing?" and you're like, look away. Nowadays it's on the phone, so no one really interacts with you. But yeah, she was
no one appreciates a good mouth, good teeth.
Good mouth.
Yes.
And sets of teeth. And I'm English too, so I got lucky because my teeth aren't too bad. But if I was like my uncle, she wouldn't have paid any attention to me. Do you know what I mean? It looks like he's got tombstones. Sorry, Uncle Billy. He's sorted his teeth now. He's good. So yeah, but then a couple of years later, so we met there. I got the gig with the Fab Four. She came over and lived with me over in Las Vegas for a while, and then we moved to Cleveland when we were having Killian, our son. So I call them river babies. There's even Joe Bologna who I play with. His son was through a relationship met through Abbey Road and the River. And I've spoke to Gary a few times, like, can I just get all the pictures of the river babies and put them up one day and get them in and get like a t-shirt, high five me if you see me, I'm a river baby. Killian would be one, Joe Bologna's son would be one, and I'm sure there's loads of them. And he said no, every year he's like, I just want to wear the Beatles. I'm like, no, but it'd be cool. Bring all the kids on, yeah, they are river babies all through the festival. They'd be getting high-fived by people. River baby, river baby. River baby trademarked by me. Abbey Road on the River
I
baby.
like it. I like it. Well, now and then they're like old enough to really appreciate the music now. I mean, they're all between.
They probably have grandkids too. Abbey Road on the River grandbaby. You know, it's just
Oh
keep
gosh.
going and going.
And it could be, I guess, because we're 20 years old. So well, maybe not grandbaby.
You never know. Just
Yeah.
go and mess around 40. They got a 20-year-old kid. That person's got a baby. Could go on.
I like that. We should have some kind of event for the river babies.
I'm a river baby, you know,
because
cool.
Yeah, there's been definitely a lot of like we saw an engagement happen like a couple years ago where they got engaged at Abbey Road in the River. I don't know if they met there, but they like he got down on one knee and proposed, and I was like, whoa, okay, our festival's like all about love, you know. So
well, it's a cycle, isn't it? I mean, you know, we've suffered a lot of deaths throughout the festival. You know, a lot of our friends have passed away. Gary Grimes and you know, the Erskine, the Eskin, you know, all of the people that we know, violin players, you know, people that we love, Rachel. And, you know, and I was like, well, it's unbalanced. Every year we give tribute to people that have passed away. Why don't we give a tribute to the people that have been born? You know, that was always I always think of things a little differently, as you know, because you've been in the bands with me. So I never really, I'm always like thinking of stuff that's the opposite. Instead of like doing this, why don't we do that? You know, so that's what I'll be bringing to Abbey Road on the River, oppositeness.
I thought you were going to say optimism, because it kind of is.
Babies. I'm going to be bringing babies to the festival.
Yeah. I forgot that I played with you that one time, or sang with you. Maybe it was it just once?
It was the once, yeah. It was when the Brazilian guys came over to Nilo, and it was the first time. And no, the first time they came over, I did a trio with them, and then the second time I wanted to put together, and I'd seen you perform. Yeah, I'd seen you and is it Jenna? Who's the girl? Jessie. Jessie, but there's another girl, and Willa. See, I put the two together by accident. I saw, you know, and I saw you guys doing part of the Paul McCartney thing, and I was like, why didn't you just learn some of the George ones? You know, George is way better than Paul. And so you were like, yeah, you know.
Yeah, we didn't complain.
It was good. You look good. Everyone had black dresses on, you know.
It was very color coordinated. Yeah, you were all in red and black. Yeah,
red and black. And then this year it was purple. I was like, I had my color coordination worked out, and then the pandemic happened, and so I was doing gigs in the house, and then they were like, we don't look the same, and I had to use my purple ties for all of these. Now I have to think of a different color coordination for Abbey Road on the River 2022.
Yeah. What's do you have any special plans for that? Are you playing again with some other guys and Danilo and those guys?
I hope so. I mean, the thing is, I'll have to speak to Gary. Hopefully he listens to this podcast and gets back in touch with me. But well, I'm flying out early. The guys have 2 or 3 gigs the week of Abbey Road on the River, and then the end of it is Abbey Road on the River, like the Saturday, Sundays when they're going to come and do the big show. So I haven't got them with me. So I might, if Danilo comes, I might have to do like kind of a trio, or maybe a trio, and then also Fernando. Fernando's coming. Mm-hmm. I can't do the big band stuff, but I mean we can strip it down. We've done acoustic and trios and stuff like that. I mean it works pretty well, and I'll just have to dress like George to just incite some of the anti-type people. Do you know what I mean? Like not anti-vax, but the anti, like me auntie who likes George Harrison. That's what I mean.
Yes, the people
the
like your aunties.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think people, definitely get drawn in when they're like, "Oh, is that George up on stage?" Yeah,
not that grey-haired fool with the orange turtleneck. That won't work.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm excited for whatever stems out of the George Harry's show that's coming out. George Harry's Son show that you're doing in May. Do you have any like favorite performances from Abbey Road on the River in the past?
Well, obviously, I'd have to say the one where I met my wife, if she's listening. You know, I think one of my favorites was when we did the George Harry's Son, and we did the Live in Japan recreation. And I know we played it with you, but we did it a year as well, where they just put us on the big stage, and I think it was like an afterthought. They were like, "Oh, you know, just put Gav on there," and it actually turned out quite well because I didn't have time to get nervous about it. I just went up there and started joking and stuff, and I think that's my best gigs. Generally for me anyway, the ones where I'm not too nervous, you know, if it's really high pressure and the Queen's watching, you know, then I'm I'm gonna be nervous about it. But
Yeah,
that gig was that big. That gig sticks out, yeah. And the gig that we did recently with the Fab Four, it was good to actually. The Fab Four plays in 2006, but they had Mike, and I've been playing with them for 14 years and never played Abbey Road and the River with the Fab Four, you know. So last year was
until
really
21.
Good. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So that was great for me to bring the actual, you know, they've seen me malarkeying around on my own for years, and then they're like, you know, and then you see the big show, and I thought that was good too. There's too many. Melissa, it's too many. It's too many answers. You know, even the small ones were great too. You know, every gig made something different happen. You know, and the people. I think actually, you know what? One big moment sticks out for me now that I think about it. I played at the when we used to play indoor, and we used to be over the water. We were playing at the Alley. I think it was the Alley Centre or somewhere, and I was just doing a solo acoustic thing, and I had the Hard Day's Night look, and I started playing Happy Just to Dance with You. And the whole crowd did the John and Paul backing. But if you watch it on YouTube, it's got like 100,000 views on it. You actually see me get shocked because I wasn't expecting to do that. And they all did it. So you had like 300 people singing the John and Paul. And that became part of my show, I'd say at the beginning. Is anyone like John? Anyone like Paul? Anyone like Ringo? You know, if you do get out, this is a George show. But it came from that response because they were all singing the John and Paul backing vocals. I thought that was amazing. So you can see that on YouTube. You know.
That's very cool. Yeah, I feel like that, like all those spontaneous things that happen at the festival are like, wow, like a few years ago it like poured rain, but like all these bands or musicians were under tents, and then they just like impromptu played music for everyone stuck in the rain, and it was just like still a fun time. So
yeah, I know Gary doesn't like rain. I'd say
no, I shouldn't talk about
it. Yeah. Can we bring what is the opposite of rain dancers? Sun dancers? Can we get some sun dancers or something? You know,
have to do
get
that.
them. And Gary, you need to invest in some sun dancers. You know, people who bring the sun out. You know, every time I play Here Comes the Sun, though, the sun does seem to come out. So just get that on a loop, 24 hours a day, and just have that playing for 4 days. You know.
Yeah, no one would get sick of the Beatles then. They'd be
no
like,
one would be sick of that song.
Yeah, by the time your show comes on, they're like, no thanks.
No, I don't want to wear it again. What's better than playing rain for 24 hours? Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly.
We've got all weather, and the Beatles never wrote a song about inclement weather, did they? Do you know what I mean? They never. It's slightly cloudy. You know, it's always.
It's overcast today.
It's overcast in my heart. It was never that. It was always either sunny or rainy.
The extremes, yes.
It was extremes,
yeah. But anyway, there's always like every Abbey Road on the River is super fun.
It is. I don't think I've ever been and gone, that was a bad one. You know, I don't think.
I hope not.
I think I'm more, you know, because Gary's clever because he brings in acts and then he tries to straddle the acts a little bit. So I know there was a few acts like All You Need Is Love. And if you guys are listening, I love you and miss you lots. And I was there on the stage when those guys did the farewell. You know, and they did like 20 years. I think there was only a few that actually played. Hal Bruce is another guy, friend of ours, that plays every year. And because they're so varied, you know, George Harrison is not. I'm not going to start playing Paul and John and, you know, other songs halfway through me George set, unless there's a dedication, you know. But so he was quite clever. He said, right, come 2 years, but then be off for a year, and then come another year. So I don't know how many years I've done. I think I've done about. How many years has it been going? 19?
20, yeah.
20?
Since 2002.
I think I've done over 10 at least, you know, but yeah, but all of them have been great, you know.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
What's your favorite year?
I don't know, probably the first year I ever came in 2015.
Right.
That one was fun.
You weren't expecting the question from me because you thought you were going to take over this interview.
I wasn't. Like, I'm the interviewer.
Yeah, no, I've swapped it around. Where'd you get your shirt?
That's funny. No, I think 15 was super fun. It was at the over on the Belvedere still, and
right.
I came as a DJ, and so we DJ'd and did these late night shows, and that was like just the first year I met everyone, and there was like this whole new Beatle community that I was just like, oh my gosh, this exists. I never knew this. This is amazing.
Crazy.
Just to meet all the bands and the fans, and you're just like immediately friends right away. I think just like all that like energy was just like, whoa. Like, so it stands out to
And
me as well.
I'm proud of you, Sue, because you went from like DJ to like, you know, rising the ranks of Abbey Road on the River, and soon you'll take over from Gary as CEO. You'll be like, oh no, watch out, Gary!
Climbing the
She's
ladder.
behind you. She's behind you right now. She's climbing the ladder. He's just proud. He's more proud of you than even anyone else is, I tell you, because you've done real well. And anytime you say, Melissa, I've got a problem, you go, no worries, and you sort it out. It's quite funny. I need a backing singer. It's okay, I can sing. I'll come and sing with you.
Yes, I can do a lot of things pretty well.
You do. Yeah, I'm proud of you. If no one said it,
Oh,
I'm proud of you.
thanks.
You've done well. And
Thanks
you know,
so much.
as soon as 2015, you were part of the family. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what happens with Abbey Road and the River. You come once, and then you're CEO. It's great. No, you come once, and then and then you just can't not go, because that year that you don't go is the year that you go, some of my other favorite bands are out, you know, and you kind of end up just going every year. You just can't help it, because, you know, you're sitting in. One of the years that I didn't go, I was watching YouTube, and that's how I found Danilo, actually, because it was one of the years Gary didn't need me. And I said, it's okay, Gary. But I cried in the cupboard for a week after he told me I couldn't go. And then I was watching on YouTube to see, because it popped up all the time, you know, Facebook, all my friends, we all got mutual friends. And I was like, and I saw Danilo, and I'd never met him. There's a band from Brazil. He did the solo for You. No, it wasn't For You Blue. It was Old Brown Shoe. And he had the tone, and it was exact. And a lot of people, you know, a lot of people do their interpretations of the Beatles, which is great. You know, for me, if you don't look like a Beatle, I don't think you should dress up. But that's just me. You know, I don't want a 280-pound dude dressed up with a wig. It's not like you got to have a bit of respect for the Beatles, and that's just my opinion. You know what I mean? But still, if they sound great, just be yourself and play the Beatles. You know, and that's what I like. But anyway, so the Brazilian guys came over.
Yeah, the Blue Beatles, right?
Blue Beatles, yeah, and there's another band that's like a hybrid of the other group. There's another Star Clubbers, so there's Star Clubbers and the Blue Beatles, and they're all Brazilian guys. But they, you know, they don't dress up like the Beatles, but they sound great. But then they also have the freedom not to play everything exact. So a lot of times you'll see a band that a cover band, they're doing an interpretation of the song, but he played the solo note perfect, and I was like, he doesn't need to, but he did. And that just impressed me. And he was skinny, he was good looking, you know what I mean? He's like, I'm white as a ghost, I'm like Casper, and you've got like Danilo, and he's very dark, and it was like ebony and ivory for me. I was like, this will be cool, we stick us two on the same stage, you know. And so I just got in touch with him, said that my name's Gavin, and you know, do you want to play in my George Harrison show? And then the rest of the guys wanted to play too. That's how I ended up. I asked Danilo, and I ended up with 20 people went, yay, we want to do it too, you know, because they all love the Beatles and they love George and stuff. So yeah,
they're very enthusiastic.
So anyway, I digress. Basically what happened was I was crying watching YouTube on the year that I wasn't there.
Well, we'll make sure to invite you every year from now on.
Yes, Gary, yes, do it.
Oh, that's funny. Well, where are you going to be with the Fab Four in like January, February? Do you know? Well, you don't even know where you're going like tomorrow. So.
I can just reel it off for you, because I've got my phone. I haven't got no spam going on right now, so we're going to be in first part of the year, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. All these weirdos come from Wisconsin. Where do you come from?
Wisconsin.
We're going to be there from the 3rd to the 7th at the Potawatomi Hotel and Casino, and then the next week, 14th and 15th of January, Las Vegas, Nevada at the Orleans, and then the 21st, Beverly Hills, California. 22nd, Temecula, which is in California. Then we go to Dana Point, California for a private. You're not allowed to go. We got Portland, Oregon, Bend, Oregon at the end of the month. And then we got Ridgefield on February 3rd to 5th, Ridgefield, Connecticut, Albany, New York, Manchester, Rochester, New York. Then the next week, Helena, Montana, Spokane, Washington, Seattle, Washington. Then I have a week off because I'm going to bloody die. Then the week after that, on the 20th, that's a private, you don't need to know about that. 22nd to the 27th, there's a good one. Chicago, Illinois, Apollo Theater.
February?
That's February 22nd to 27th, and we're breaking in a new market. And so I know Chicago has the most Beatle tribute acts per capita. I've been all over the world that has the most Beatle tribute acts. So there's a lot of Beatle fans out there. If you're in Chicago, 22nd to the 27th, downtown, the Fab Four.
Nice. Right over George's birthday.
right over George's birthday, of course. I will play a few songs for George that night, maybe, if the guys are listening. Please let me
They'll
play
let
some
you.
George songs. Yeah, it's like being in the real Beatles. It's like I get 1 or 2 songs at a bloody night. You know,
there's a hierarchy.
There is a hierarchy. It goes. It's like, you know, your hierarchy is like Melissa, then Gary, and then all the other minions. It's like that with us. You know, it's the John and Paul, and then George and Ringo, and then, you know, then a Vox amp or something is just below me and the Ringo.
An inanimate object. Yeah.
An inanimate object that doesn't even work. It's gutted, and we use these pods. But anyway, you know, furniture.
That's hilarious. Oh, that's awesome. Well, great. That's where people can find you coming up. And then we'll see you in May with the Fab Four and with your George Harry's Son show.
Excellent.
And that's going to be super exciting.
Okay. One last question before I go. Who did your paintwork behind you? You know, all the white paint on the walls. Who did that?
Who did that? I don't know. The apartment building.
See, there you go. I tried to just throw a question at you. No, I tried to throw a question at you just to throw you off at the end when you were doing your goodbye. You know, a lot of people have a sign off. My sign off is, who did the white work behind you?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. You know,
it is.
I can't answer it for you. I had like I met someone randomly a few years ago who, this is not related to anything, but did you ever go on like a, now I can't remember. It was up in like the Keweenaw Peninsula of Michigan.
Oh,
they said there was like the UP. Yeah. They said there was some like Beatles tribute band that played on this like ferry across Lake Superior or something.
Right.
I don't know. Was it you?
I've never played on a ferry. The only ferry I've ever played on is the one on the Mersey. I've actually played a ferry on the Mersey, but no, it wasn't. Well, actually, what I usually say was it good?
I think they loved it.
That was us. Yeah, it was us.
That's hilarious.
Anytime we get random questions, it's like, did you guys play at some hay festival?
You're like, how do I know?
You know, in Louisiana, it was great. You know, the guys dressed up in hay bales, and I go, is it good? He go, yeah. I go, it was us. It was whoever it is. If it was good, it was us. You know?
Yeah. Probably hard to keep track of all the days.
I can't even answer that question. I've got so many answers I could put, but I'm not going to put it. You know, it's just like, if it was bad, it was such a Beatles tribute act.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get into that, because for me, I love all the Beatles tribute acts. I think they're all great, and I like some of the new ones coming through. They're carrying the torch, you know. And I think you know, it's good. It means that the next generation are getting the Beatles. I know sometimes people look at Beatles tribute acts with a little bit of like, Beatles tribute acts, and I think of ours. We're the only ones that got an Emmy Award. It's like out of any tribute act to anyone, Queen. It doesn't matter. There's only one tribute act in the world that got an Emmy Award. It's the Fab Four. So we're doing something right.
Wow.
But what I like is seeing other guys from other bands that are really good and just plucking them and making them join the Fab Four.
Yeah.
He's really good. Let's get this guy, you know. So I think it's good to keep the you know, the Beatles going, and I think it's good that the younger generations are there, and it's good to hear it live. You know, it's great listening to it on the vinyl. But coming to a festival like Abbey Road and the River, you're going to get the variants, and that's what I like. You get the Beatles tribs. You get the guys who, you know, sound like Paul. They don't look like Paul. You get guys that are a 20-piece band that just play bongos. You're just going to get like every variance of the Beatles. You know what? And another good thing about the Beatles that not many people really identify before they go, they're the only band in the world that make non-English speaking people learn English. They're the only band that like has a tribute act from all over the world, from different countries. So there might be every now and again someone from the Philippines that does Chicago or whatever sticks, but you have an actual couple of tribute acts from the Czech Republic, Japan, China, you name it, Russia. Everyone has Beatle tribute acts, and their first language isn't even English. So that's how, when you just think of that, that's how big the Beatles are.
That's fascinating.
There's never been a band from Kazakhstan that's made me want to learn Kazakhstanese, if that's the word, and I've gone, hey, like learning Kazakhstan. It's never happened, but it has made a little kid in Japan go, oh yeah, I'll tell you something. It's made them want to sing that song and learn English, and I think that's absolutely brilliant. And they come from Liverpool, small little town. Like it's like that. It's like a 3-mile radius. It's like, It's tiny.
It is fascinating to think about all the influence they've had on the world and how they brought everyone together.
I think it's great. And on that note, we will say goodbye because I need to get on a bloody
I know you
flight.
got to go. Well, thank you so much. And we'll see you in May. Can't wait.
See you in May, Melissa. It's good to talk to you today.
Yes,
I love you, Gary. I love you, Gary.
We all love Gary. All right. We'll see you later.
Take care, my love.
Thanks.